Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/AITA. In today's episode, AITA for telling my parents that they ruined New York celebration after they kicked my husband out over a joke? AITA for not sharing my inheritance with the rest of my family? WIPTA if I don't change my son's name even though it may cause him to lose an inheritance? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. AITA for telling my parents that they ruined New York celebration after they kicked my husband out over a joke? I've been married to my second husband Mike for 4 years now. He's a jokester and loves to crack jokes all the time. He especially liked to joke with my brother Ethan and his wife. Ethan used to be okay with it till he started complaining about Mike taking it too far with his jokes. Some context about Ethan. He and his wife couldn't have kids, so they adopted a boy, Joey, 2 years ago. Mike has been making silly, lighthearted jokes that involving Joey's bio parents as a way to mess with Ethan and his wife. I already talked to Mike and I tell you that he's 100% means no harm and he was just trying to get them to react. Fast forward to NYE, my parents hosted a big celebratory dinner and Ethan and his wife came. While we were eating dinner, Mike decided to tell a knock-knock joke to Ethan. He said, "Knock knock." Ethan laughed and said, "Who's there?" Mike replied, "Joey's bio parents," then he bursted out laughing. Silence took over and Ethan's facial expressions changed. His wife called Mike an idiot, to which Mike replied with, "Hey, relax, it was just a joke." An argument ensued and dinner was paused. My parents suddenly told Mick to leave, which I thought was too harsh. I tried to speak to them and get them to calm down, but Mom insisted that Mike leave. We left and Mike was complaining the whole time about how they overreacted. I called Mom later and she told me Mike was out of line with his hurtful jokes about this touchy topic and told me I was wrong for defending him and saying he was just joking. She said he ruined New York for the family, but I told her it was her and Dad who ruined New York celebration for escalating the situation and kicking him out. I told her he could talk to them, but again, they were the ones who ruined New York celebration. She called me delusional for this statement and hung up. We haven't talked to them for days. I tried contacting Ethan, but no response. YTA. Your husband likes to hurt people. It's nothing to do with jokes. Your husband likes to hurt people. Wish I had an award to give you for this. He 100% means no harm and he was just trying to get them to react. The reaction is hurt. That's the reaction, he's trying to get hurt. If it's not hurt, it's frustration or annoyance. It's shitty to purposefully make people feel hurt, frustration, or annoyance for your own amusement. Toying with people's emotions is harmful. Think up a YTA. YTA, no one likes your husband. He's not funny. His jokes aren't cute. No one thinks he's clever or amusing. He does mean harm, otherwise why would he keep picking at this very sensitive subject? Your husband is a bully. You're enabling your husband to bully your relatives. It's because OP is an AH2. The people that defend "it's just a joke bro" always are. Wonder how she would feel if they made fun of her insecurities. YTA. Your husband is an asshole, and you are enabling him. Making jokes to try to get people to react after they asked you not to was bullying and harassing, not lighthearted jokes. Your parents didn't overreact, they kicked out a disgusting bully. Or they were just joking, OP, and you are overreacting over a harmless prank. KKKKKK. AITA for not sharing my inheritance with the rest of my family? My family situation is messy. I, 25F, was engaged 4 years ago to my high school sweetheart. My fiancé cheated on me with my sister, 28F. We had never had a good relationship even as kids, so after I found out, I went scorched earth, both of them. She was so in love with my fiancé, but he dumped her within 2 weeks and was back trying to get me to forgive him. I didn't. My parents were initially on my side, but my sister had a nervous breakdown after she was dumped and was hospitalized, so they changed their tune to "It's over now and you can't be mad forever." So I dumped them, too, and went to grad school on the other side of the country. My grandfather was livid with the whole thing, disowned my sister, and chewed out my parents. Sometimes it felt like he was the only one who was on my side and understood. I was able to get my job to let me work remotely and moved back to take care of him when he got sick last fall, and I was devastated when he passed a couple of months ago. I had been in limited contact with my parents since I came back, mostly because I didn't want to be an obstacle to my dad seeing my grandfather, but with the understanding that any discussion of my sister or what happened would end that. It turns out that my grandfather left me virtually everything. He left enough for my father to cover a debt and some token stuff for a couple of other relatives, but he wrote letters for everyone and did a videotape with his attorney explaining what his intentions were. I knew that he had done well for himself, but he lived a pretty simple lifestyle, so I didn't realize how much money and assets he really had. I would give it all up to have my papa back, but even after taxes it is set for life money. My parents are pretty mad about it. One of the reasons stated for cutting them out was how disappointed my grandfather was with how they had treated me growing up versus my sister, and over the fiancé debacle. There were other reasons, but that's what they're fixated on. The will is pretty airtight apparently, so my parents want me to do the right thing and share it equally between me, them, and my sister. Their argument is that I don't need it. I make more than both of them combined, and this would allow them to retire. My sister is not doing great and can't hold a job, so this would ensure she has something for when my parents pass. I don't want to. My grandfather's wishes were crystal clear, and also I kind of don't feel like doing more than the minimum for any of them. They've been telling me that I'm being vindictive because of a mistake years ago. I can't deny there might be a little vindictiveness there. I don't want them to suffer necessarily, but I also don't feel like they deserve my help. NTA, I'm so sorry your papa is gone. He sounds very loving and interesting by the way you speak about him here. That said, set your family connections on fire and walk away. That's what he would have wanted, and he granted you the means to do so. Walk tall, you've earned this. This is kind of how I feel about it. I feel like he left her that much so she'd hopefully never have a reason to reach back out to them and could just live her life. NTA. My grandfather's wishes were crystal clear. Indeed. And you parents are, again, showing how awful they are by trying to emotionally manipulate you into going against those clear wishes. Your parents were free to patch up these relationships while your grandfather was alive. They didn't, and these are the consequences. NTA. NTA, don't share money with your truly terrible family. They don't deserve it. Take a nice, long vacation. And cut them off completely. NTA. If it isn't the consequences of their own actions coming back to bite them. If only any of them had cared about doing the right thing when your sister pulled her BS. It would be a disservice to your grandfather to ignore his expressly detailed and outlined wishes. You aren't being vindictive, it's literally what he wanted. Anything they are suffering from isn't yours to fix or carry for them. NTA, he left it to you for a reason. I'm sorry for everything you went through with your family. You may want to get a lawyer involved. You know what? It's okay for you to feel a bit petty and vindictive. That incident with your sister was traumatizing for you, and the people who should have supported you took the side of the perpetrator. You are entitled to feel a bit smug that the offenders have received their just rewards as a consequence of their actions. Doesn't it make you wonder what your mother's response would have been if her husband had slept with her sister? We all know the answer, of course. You keep every single penny of that inheritance. Your papa felt so strongly about his choices that he took the time to make documentation to explain his decisions. You must honor that. My condolences on your loss. Big virtual hugs coming your way. I encourage you to block the three of them for your own mental and emotional health. Anything they want to say to you can be said to your attorney. NTA. WIPTA if I don't change my son's name even though it may cause him to lose an inheritance? I, 24, got pregnant while I was taking a gap year traveling. I met an older guy, nothing gross. I was 19, he was 23. We had fun. I was working in a bar to make money while I explored his city. When I got pregnant, he lost interest really quickly. I understood, but I am pro-choice. And I chose not to terminate. I went home and had my son. I also made sure to get child support. He could afford it. He did fight it though. I had to prove paternity and everything. Through that, his parents found out. They are well off. They have met my son and they truly do seem to love him. They have provided gifts for his birthday and Christmas. They helped me with extra money so I could complete my university without going into debt. They have taken us on vacation with them so they could spend time with him. They aren't my biggest fans, but we are cordial to each other. 3 months ago, my son's father passed away. He got drunk at his bachelor party, tripped on the sidewalk, and hit his head. And that was all she wrote. My son and I attended the funeral. We spent a week in that city so his grandparents could see him. They approached me with an offer. They had no other children or grandchildren. Their son was only 28, so he had lots of time to provide them legitimate kids. They did not say this, I'm just assuming, so they never thought about my son's name. They said that if I changed his surname to theirs legally, they would make him their primary heir. I think this is dumb. He is their only grandchild and they would deny him an inheritance because of his last name? I said I would consider it, to be polite, and have left it at that. I actually have a pretty good life as it is. My family has been very supportive. And because of the whole court thing, my son's father had to have life insurance with him as the beneficiary. Would it be nice for my kid to get a big sum of money? Yes. Do I want him to have the surname of a man who didn't want him, see him, or love him? No. I have been talking to my family about it, and a few of them think I'm being an asshole for giving up this kind of money for my son. It is generational wealth, and I'm making the decision based on emotion. I think they are assholes for thinking money is the only thing that matters. I think I will tell my son's grandparents that they can talk to him about it when he is 16. He will be old enough to understand the implications, but young enough not to be tied professionally to his last name. They would deny him an inheritance because of his last name? Isn't that what you're doing? Not if she lets him choose at 16. YTA. F that dude, but also you're kinda screwing your kid by not changing the name. That money is your child's future, and guess what, they'll probably want it regardless of y'all's beef. If they find out, that could also wreck y'all's relationship. ETA, get the bag. You can be honoring the grandparents that have been involved in your son's life, and ultimately your kid can change the name if they don't like it, but the money can allow your child to pursue their dreams without having to worry about the stress of loans, etc. Yes, I completely understand not wanting him to have the name of a man who did not want him, but being practical, that's a lot of money, and if that's all they want, I would make the sacrifice for my son's sake. He shouldn't be punished for his dad being a bad guy. I get where you are coming from in the sense that you aren't fond of him having a name that is tied to his dad who didn't want anything to do with him. However, I just want to give you some things to think about. He's not likely to forgive you when he finds out what he's missed out on. And for just a surname. Yeah, his dad didn't want him, but his grandparents want to involve him as a primary heir. This is a grand move on their part and could change your son's life. YTA. And if I ever found out, I wouldn't forgive you. NTA. They are the for tying money to a name. If they want him to have it, they should give it to them regardless of the last name. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.